Hello, Joseph. I hope that you're doing fine. It's the end of March, actually, and I'm very glad to welcome you to our Ciklopea Coffee Chat. I'm sure that you're having a nice Friday, and thank you for this time that you actually will give to us and to our audience. So today we would like to introduce Joseph. Joseph, please say a few things about you, even though I'm sure that generally a lot of people following Ciklopea's page knows you.
Okay. So first of all, thank you very much for inviting me, Zana. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. I think my history with you and your company goes a couple of decades back. So it's exciting to be here with you today, especially in these exciting times in the technology development and the different conversations that are around content, whether it's creation or the information sharing around and so on. My name is Josef Kubovsky. I'm the CEO of Nimdzi Insights. As you might have learned, I've been in the language service industry for a couple of decades in different roles, whether it is leading a translation company, being part of a foundation of one of the leading translation technologies. I also have an insight into technology, and today working on the consulting space. And actually, yesterday, I have been part of a group which is called LangOps, and that helps our industry and the space finding new paths, new opportunities, and new journeys for us to be more successful and to be bringing more value to not just the language service community, but the whole community around content.
Good, thank you. Yes, Ciklopea will be 20 years old this year, actually in November. So we hope to maybe, see you somewhere in Zagreb. That would be great. What we actually wanted to talk to you about today is the localization, as it is the general and the vast term, I know, but definitely we wanted you to elaborate a bit on localization and return on investment that it brings to companies that have various markets where they have products on, and actually maybe you can say why is it so important that the native speakers see the material translated, whether those are of course legally obliged.
You're already going a little bit to the answers, Anna.
Yes, I will stop. Please.
Okay,
continue.
So let me draw the main picture. So I think the main concern is between translation and localization. So localization allows the producers or the company who's generating a product actually to be very specific to a region or to locales, right? Taking the unique cultural or linguistic opportunity to be very specific to those areas, right? We want to make sure that the product that we're offering to that very specific region or again, locale is communicated well, is understood, right? Is engaging with the local audience. My colleague Renato Beninato would describe it as the closer to the human skin you are. And a good example of this is a shampoo. So when you are washing yourself, you're actually putting it closer to yourself. And if the description is in your language, you would rather buy a product, a shampoo that is described in your language than if even it is in the language that you speak really well, right? Another good example is if you are going to buy a game or a toy or something, anything for your kids, you would rather support the local market. So what do we want to do is to minimize the differentiation between what is international and what is very local, if it doesn't have a personal perspective on that, right? So what we're trying to do is to be as regional as possible, right? We want to follow the traditions. We want to follow the customs. I think one of the good examples of one of the sport equipment producers is that they were in the Arabic countries, they were putting promotional material for ladies in bikini, which is a total nonsense, right? In that region, it would actually offend the people. So if we would only translate and we wouldn't be focusing on thinking of regionals or locales, we may not only lose a business opportunity or not generate so much money in that region, but we may be losing our reputation, which is typically much worse than the opposite. So by doing that, we are overcoming the cultural barriers between the different regions. We are making sure that there is a greater customer engagement. And we want to make sure that we're building a stronger relationship with the target audience where we're going to. This is different to different verticals where you're working, whether you're working in life sciences or pharmacy. You are forced to do so because of the legal restrictions, especially in our region, right? In the European Union, you must have it to be able to enter that market. It might be different if you go to different markets, but again, if you are not considering only the legal perspective, you may be losing a business opportunity if you're not going towards that direction. Then you have the gaming aspect. I already mentioned the game. You want to make sure that the communication, the discussion, if you imagine an online game or a game that's available to play on computer, you might have a conversation, a discussion between two roles, two game posts. And if they are not speaking your local language, you might be concerned. You may not get all the details. Again, I was giving the example with the bikinis. Very much the same if an Asian game, let's say Chinese game, which is typically includes quite a lot of blood, would be sold on the European market or even on the American market, it may not probably be so successful because the parents wouldn't want to support it, right? When in the other regions, it's quite okay. If you would be talking about a game that's going from, you pick the region, to Japan, you want a lot of paintings, a lot of descriptions, and so on. And that also brings us back to the necessity of certain markets expecting you to have all the details described. With the ChatGPT setup, we are playing a little bit of a different game in the necessity of creating all the content, but that's probably another question that you will have later. Zana, does this help with answering the question around localization and why should people invest in localization?
Definitely. I think that you put it up really well and in clear and concise words. We also, feel obliged to talk about it on everyday basis with our potential clients, with people in general, because the localization and translation solutions in general is definitely something different than when a potential client says, please, can you translate this? And actually what we like to say to those people is, yes, Google Translate can do it. But if you need a provider who will be with you on daily basis, who will help you solve potential problems that you might have in your translation process, who can offer new solutions to you, then you need somebody who has experience and actually who knows how to do it. So definitely, yes, you mentioned ChatGPT. ChatGPT can also say what translation services are there on the market, human translation, hybrids of human translation and machine translation, etc. There are so many things, but definitely, what would you say is the future of translation services in general? Definitely, we can see that professional human translation is here still, but that many projects are transferred to MT, and that's actually not only the future but the presence as well.
So the technology has always been a support, not only for the end user, like the corporations or those people who need it, whether we talk about translation or localization at the end of the day, but it's always been there. We have always been all benefiting from it. The Google Translate that you described is more available. It's publicly available for everyone, so that actually can speed up the process, that can make sure that you get your content quicker created. That's the same thing with ChatGPT 3, 4, whatever the number you may talk about, and going to the content creation. So you can even create the content in the target language. The problem of all of this is, just like you started at the beginning, is it true? It's not only about, is the quality correct? Is this actually transcribing my message? It will, because you told the machine what to do. But the question is whether the data that it was using as a support of creating the final message that you are being provided is correct. Is it true or is it fail, right? You might be asking yourself the same question if you're telling a human to transcribe your message and put it in there. But there is more connections, there's more dependencies that a human can see and distinguish between what's publicly available information versus what is an information that's related to that particular stream, right? We still can identify better, and the engines are trained mainly on the publicly available data. Those that are available for all of us. Now, what I feel is important for us to realize in the usage, and that might be more for those who are either working in localization departments, is that the publicly available data are going to provide us with the information, again, that's going to go out, that we are going to leverage. And going back to what we said earlier regarding the life sciences sector versus the gamings or even the marketing streams. Well, look, if you have your well-trained engine, if you have your resource that is supported with what you're telling it to do, then the result will be, of course, much more probable in not giving you the fails, but the true answer, right? When it's public, when it's marketing, I love these environments because they're telling us what is already out there, right? We described a situation where you would be looking, who are the best consulting companies on earth in regards to localization. Of course, there will be only Nimdzi popping up, or may not, depending on who trained the data, what does internet say about this particular topic. Is it true? Is it fails? That's something that we need to be justifying, and you need someone who's going to justify. And you can hardly put all your investments, whether it's your company brand, whether it's your strategy, whether it's your career, because most of the time when talking about localization departments, people are risking their career if they make a major decision or major path going towards a certain direction. So I think the technology is there to help us, but we need to be able to decide until which point do I want to use it, and where do I want to step back and decide that this is not it.
Cool. Yes, thank you. Actually, you made some good point. Definitely, we have to be cautious, but definitely there are things we can use even now, and that's a good thing. When you were speaking about localization, then I know for certain that you also are able to check the localization maturity of a company. What is actually what does that actually mean? And maybe you can, elaborate a bit more on it and on the services that your company Nimdzi offers.
Sure. Thank you very much, Zana. So what we're seeing is that, there's a lot of experts on localization in our space. They work as localization managers in the corporate companies, whether, these would be typically global companies or someone who is strong in a region and they want to expand. So they're building localization programs and so on. And when you're starting a localization program, doesn't necessarily need to be at the beginning of your journey, but you are already in Europe, or you're covering the European markets and the US, and you want to expand to Asia. So you need to set new rules, set new specifications. And at that point, it is good for you to identify where on the scale from 0 to 10 or
Mm.
1 to 9 you are sitting. What are the things that you need, that you could be doing better? What are the things that are necessary for you to implement if you want to implement, if you want to go a certain direction? And this is what the index, what the maturity level helps you with identifying. Why did we build it? I think the answer is simple, because we are helping companies to build those localization programs. We also do a lot of competitive surveys on foreign markets. So if you're deciding, should I go and see if my translation of my website would be successful, and if people are reacting to it, we will start expanding. You're not going to get enough information, and you might be spending your money for nothing because you didn't do a proper marketing promotion. You didn't have the local space to talk about you, and you may have not analyzed the local competitive scale and see whether it is actually the right target market for you or not. This is typical for the US type of companies, or those who are from large regions who don't realize the importance of having, again, the regional or the very local languages. You and I, Czech and Croatia, are pretty aware of it, right? Because our people would hardly buy something that is in English if they're not only not speakers, but if they're feeling that this is something that's coming too far abroad from. So that's where we step in. We run these competitive analysis. We tell them the path, the journey they should go to, and so on. And that's where they can become more successful with minimum necessary investment that make actually sense for them to go into a market or not.
Cool. Yes, interesting. I think that usually you wouldn't think about it, but now when you say it so openly, definitely it's something that the company needs. Another question, this time a bit of a cliche, is our market in danger? I mean, translation and localization markets, LSPs and all the other partners. What should we concentrate on in this very challenging 2023 when it comes to content, marketing, translation, and similar services? Can you say something about it?
Yeah, good question. And you're not going to be happy about what I'm going to say. So Renato, again, my colleague Renato Beninato typically says that doesn't matter what happens on Earth, whether there's crisis, there's no crisis, people still want to communicate. They still want to talk about what's going on. And that's why our industry will always be on growth. I will take an opposite step, and I will say we are in a big danger these days because there's a lot of content available. There is AI that generates the content. It can generate the content in even the target languages for you. Again, going back to what we say, whether it's true or it's fail, that's hard to judge. So someone needs to judge. And that's why we need to decide, what will we do with the technology that is given to us? Is it going to be a threat? Or is this going to be an opportunity for us, right? I know many companies are already benefiting from ChatGPT, especially ChatGPT-4, for the more used languages, or the major languages that are, and they are doing great. They are benefiting from it. But I also know many of the mid-sized translation companies who are losing opportunities. They're losing customers because they are not needing so many services anymore. The technology that's publicly available is giving them so much that they don't need so much of work from their language vendors as they did in the past. So my clear suggestion is, don't wait. Don't be blind. Don't be pretending that nothing is happening. It's simple. Especially, it's not expensive. It's almost free for you. You can definitely try it for free and turn it into your success. There's many people. I'm very happy to talk to you, or anyone on my team is happy to talk to you about how can you benefit from the different opportunities instead of threats that are coming in. and we need to do something about it. You guys need to do something about it. Otherwise, there is threat. So
Otherwise, we'll become
let's do something.
dinosaurs.
Yes.
Let's do something together. Yes, perfect. Thank you, Joseph. So to conclude, tell us about you, about your plans for 2023. What does this challenging year bring to you personally? Do you have any important stuff that will lead you to positive thinking throughout these times? Share it with our audience for the end.
Thank you very much, Zana. So first of all, again, I'm seeing everything that's happening recently as an opportunity. I have this fight with my wife here at home where I'm saying they can't stop what has already started, the explosion of AI. My wife saying, oh, but how do I check whether my students are cheating with their thesis or not? Where there were systems already, how to find out that she knows, but is the society ready for it? Is it not? I think it's going to be difficult to stop the movement already. We're too far. But what is really exciting is how will all the standardization go about on this? Can we use the AI to help us with creating the standardization? And that's what I'm really excited about. I think these are super interesting times for us. And again, I'm seeing a huge opportunity. So you know, every week there's something new that we're seeing that's progressing. So let's use it. Let's get something out of it. You know, the picture that I'm visualizing myself is that this translation vendor is there using their data that they've created in the past, getting paid for it, and just checking some of the parts of the content, 20-30% of what they used to do before, and being paid much more than they were paid in the past, but for 20 or 30% of the work that they did before. So, and there is a business opportunity. You just got to catch it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for concluding on a positive note, because that's what we need, right? Looking into the bright future that we've got, definitely, if we know how to use the opportunity, as you said. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for your time again.
My pleasure.
Let's keep in touch and hopefully see each other in the future somewhere. Yes, somewhere, maybe on Zoom, maybe somewhere else.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, and have a nice weekend, Joseph.
Very nice meeting you. Bye-bye.
Bye.